Hey, it's Gerard, and today we're reviewing Westside Gunn's And Then You Pray For Me. This is Westside Gunn's last studio album. It's also a follow-up for Pray for Paris, which to me contains some of his best music. While it's not his best project, I think it's his most polished and defining sounding album, which I believe was the objective when he recorded the album. I mean, he took us to the place he was at, and that's how he wanted us to feel, and that's how he felt when he recorded the album. So how does this album fare up to its Distance prequel? Well, it's interesting to say the least, and I'll tell you why. It's been quite a journey over the past 1 or 2 years, with Michelle Records instrumentals being teased in Instagram videos, a rollout with no singles, and one of the craziest feature lists we'll probably see this year. And for me, while Utopia might be the best and most entertaining first listen, And Then You Pray For Me was probably the most interesting first listen I've had this year. This was probably the most interesting first listen to me just because of outside of the instrumental snippets and the video of JID in the studio, we didn't really know what the album was going to be, and I just assumed it'd be the same old Westside Gunn album, which of course is always something fun to look forward to. His ear for beats, his great beat selection, and his features are always what makes his albums entertaining. What we ended up getting though is a hybrid of boom bap that we know Westside Gunn for, mixed in with a bunch of trap singles and hits that we've rarely seen him do outside of his most recent mixtape 10, which has Fly Guy Jr. featuring Doughboy and DJ Drama, which is a song I honestly found myself loving. Despite this being a sound we already knew Westside Gunn had in his bag, it still caught me off guard and completely surprised me. I was heavily excited going into it because Westside Gunn's been one of my favorite artists over the past 3 or 4 years, and there were no singles for it, which honestly is come to expect it from a Griselda artist. But the feature list was about as crazy as it could get for a Westside Gunn album. We finally got to see some mainstream stars on a Westside Gunn project. So not only do we have appearances from the usual Griselda artists and affiliates like Stove God Cooks, Conway, Benny, Rome Streets, and Boldy James, we also got features from stars like JID, Rick Ross, Giggs, Ty Dolla $ign, Denzel Curry, and the trap legend Jeezy, and more. And while it's almost expected for Gunn to have a crazy feature list, he almost outdid some of his best ever. What surprised me was how random the trap sound was when it hit the album. And Then You Pray For Me began with the usual from Westside Gunn, the A.A. Rashid intro, and it was followed by a crazy song featuring JID and Conway over a hard-hitting Beat Butcher instrumental, which again is very on-brand for Westside Gunn. And to be honest, JID and Conway is a duo I hope we see more together from. While it's an unexpected pairing, they have 2 songs together and it's great. They're both amazing. And I feel like Conway always brings his best with JID because he knows it's a look into the mainstream world, where JID always brings his best on any track, but he does with Conway more specifically because he knows if he doesn't, Conway will do what Conway does and body him on his own song. But what came after that was what completely just threw me off guard. When Custis began to play and I heard
"Take heat, fuck these niggas up,"
and then I see it's a song with Benny, Conway, and Westside Gunn, I just laughed out loud. It just seemed like something that came from an alternate universe. And the best part of it all is it's not a bad song at all, especially because Benny the Butcher completely kills it. The aggressiveness he approached the track with was amazing. And then Westside Gunn and Conway, while they weren't as good on the beat, I feel like they carried it out enough where it's still a great song. After this track though is when we begin to go back and forth with songs that fit in from his previous work, and then songs with the trap sound that's packaged within this album. Songs like Kitchen Lights or Revenge of Flip's Legs, House of Glory, or Suicide and Suffrages are some of the better songs on the album, and also some of the songs where it's more of a traditional Westside Gunn sound, if you know what I mean. And there's not too much commentary on me from these songs. It's about what you expect from Westside Gunn. I will say that Revenge of Flip's Legs is one of the best songs on the album to me, and it's due to one of my favorite artists over the past couple of years that's on the song, Rome Streets. On Babylon Biz, we have a Stove God Cooks feature, which he's honestly been decimating every single Griselda feature he's been on, and it feels like every Westside Gunn feature is just a rollout for his album that never comes. I don't even think he's released anything since the pandemic. He's also on House of Glory, a song that's produced by RZA, and his feature on that is amazing as well. Now for the trap sound on this album. To be honest, it's growing on me more and more that I listen to it, but I just don't think it was it. I love giving artists their flowers, and Westside Gunn deserves it for trying something new, and that deserves respect. As I said before, most of the trap sounds go beyond what he's ever done. Unfortunately, to me, the efforts just fall short of making this a good album, especially on most of the songs. Not to say they're all bad, Disgusting, Ultra Griselda, Jalen Rose, Freddie J's are some of the songs where I think he does a trap sound well enough for them to succeed. On the other hand, I feel like these songs are very dependent on the feature rather than Gunn himself. I love Westside Gunn. I was never a fan of the people whose takes were he was carried by his features and he's not that good of an artist. But this may be the first project where I kind of see what they're saying. Outside of Freddie J's, which is probably my favorite trap song performance from him, on that song, the way he approached it and just flowed on it was amazing. But the song has an off-putting mix, but it gives it a mixtape feel, including the DJ drum. He's also good on Disgusting, which is just an insane song to me. Gunn and Giggs bring in energy over these hard-hitting drums and 808s, and it just makes it a great overall track. In the outro, which is titled after the album, is a beautiful song from Casey, whose voice sounds perfect over this minimalist sample, but a pretty just beautiful sounding beat. And then to me, there's the most interesting sounding song in the entire album, Chloe featuring Ty Dolla $ign. An R&B song which is about as Griselda sounding as an R&B song can get. Westside Gunn isn't the best singer in the slightest, but the additional background vocals of Ty Dolla $ign just make it sound a lot better. The song as a whole to me at least sounds good. It even sounds better when you ignore how graphic and sexual Westside Gunn's lyrics are, which seems to be a pattern whenever he gets on R&B songs. I remember his interlude on Joyce Rice's album, Overgrown, which side note is a great album. I recommend it to you if you like and listen to R&B music. But just like his verse on that interlude, it was graphic. On his verse on her album, it was so graphic the label made her censor out the whole song damn near, which it's just like the song on the album. Westside Gunn is extremely graphic, describing sex or action of sex as detailed as he can. Ty Dolla $ign doesn't shy away from it either, but it's also Ty Dolla $ign, so I mean it sounds way better. And I think when it's all said and done though, Chloe's still an interesting yet good song. I think for most people though, your feelings on this project will depend on a couple things. One, how much you like and love Westside Gunn's previous music. I mean, if you didn't like the dusty, raw sound that Westside Gunn brought to hip hop, then yeah, you may love him dabbling into the trap sound. But if you love Westside Gunn rapping over these grimy beats by Beat Butcher, Alchemist, Derringer, or someone else, this probably isn't the Gunn album for you. As it pertains to me, I probably fall in the second category, but I'm going to try to enjoy this album because I usually come around to Westside Gunn's music because he's a musical genius in his own regards. I also became a huge Westside Gunn fan because I believe he has the best ear for beats in all of hip-hop history, and his music is best when he executes his own sound to the highest level. You have a bunch of people trying to replicate this sound. Hell, Drake just rapped over 8 AM in Charlotte, which was produced by one of Griselda's main producers, Conductor Williams. Of course, Griselda going out of their comfort zone isn't new. Ever since they've been blowing up, they've released projects that are different in comparison to their previous sound. Biddy has Burden of Proof and Conway has From King to a God, which are both two projects that I think are amazing. All in all, though, this project is interesting. I don't necessarily think it was a bad album, but compared to the rest of his works, it just doesn't live up to them. I'd be lying if I said it was one of his best albums, and Gunn said he just made music off of how he felt at the time, which I'm not going to critique because I'm not him. I don't know how he felt at the time. I can't say he was lying, but I feel like every artist says that whenever they make a different sounding album. But to me, I feel like this album was more created because he's slowly blowing up as a mainstream artist. He just came off one of his biggest features on Travis Scott's Utopia, Lost Forever. And maybe he wanted to give listeners a trip over into his own sound by making a trap tunnel, which would lead him into his previous work, which by then I would completely understand him making an album that sounds like this. I would love an album with a similar feature list with Denzel Curry, JID, and other mainstream stars, but have them over a grimy Derringer beat, just so they would have to bring their best, but maybe that's just the old head in me. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I'm going to try to improve my videos every time and be more consistent. Also, if you listen to the album, please comment down below your thoughts, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.